I saw a friend recently, and she told me that a dear friend of hers had just died. I knew she was telling me this because I'm the one who writes about grief, and she was seeking some kind words and guidance. So I thought about what I was going to say, and what came to me was, I'm sorry for your loss. And I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. Those were the exact words that I'd been on a campaign to get people to not say. And here I was trying to say them. I realized at that moment that people say things like, I'm sorry for your loss, because it's a trend in society today. You hear so many people say, I'm sorry for your loss, that you say it too. They usually are sorry for the person who's dealing with loss. But the phrase has become so commonplace. It's like, how are you? Or have a nice day. So the person speaking those words doesn't really want a response, but they do want to acknowledge the loss and then get right back to what they were talking about. Now, here I am with my friend who's close to tears, and I knew she needed sympathy, not something trite or flip. So I took a deep breath and gathered myself and said, I know he was so special to you. You took such good care of him. And although this was expected, it's still hard. And I know you miss him. With that, her floodgates opened and she was able to cry and talk. Soon after this happened, my sister died unexpectedly. Now, most of my friends didn't know my sister because she was much older than I am and she lived far away. But those who, I did brace myself for hearing those words that I just didn't want to hear. Yet this time, it didn't happen. Yet, those of my friends who did know her said their memories of her and reminded me how sweet she was. And those who didn't said things like, I know she will always be with you in your heart, or may your treasured memories sustain you. These thoughts were so much more helpful than, I'm sorry for your loss. So here's what I've learned. When the time comes that you need to say something to someone who's dealing with loss, think about what you're going to say before you say it. Lead with love, trusting your heart to guide you. When you're honest, kind, and loving, you can't go wrong. But remember when you're doing this, that make what you're saying about the person that you're talking to, because this is about them. And if I responded with something like, when Jacques died, or Ron died, or when Mom died, that's my story. And this needs to be about her, so, or him. And you could say something like, I love watching you two hold hands after all these years. That always made me smile. And I could see how much you loved each other. Saying something like this puts the focus on the person that you're speaking to, as well as acknowledging the death. If you're considering saying something that isn't helpful and can't be said with love, then don't say it. Here's something else I've learned. Do be careful with religion. I can't tell you how many times I've heard something like, what God would want or not want, or why did God let this happen? And that's not helpful. If you know what the person that you're dealing with, what her beliefs are, then, and you can be comfortable with talking about them with her, then by all means, say what you want to. This can be of the deepest comfort. But if you don't know their beliefs, it could be that you might accidentally say something that could be of the deepest hurt. So just be cautious to express your feelings from your heart with love. Another things I've learned to do is to be proactive with what you say. The thing I heard more than anything else was, just let me know if you need anything. Stop saying that now. They're not going to call you. And if they do, it's likely because they need your help right then and you might not be available. Instead, take them food or flowers for the first couple of weeks or months. Let them know that they're remembered. And a little hint, if you plan to take food to someone who's living alone, don't take them a giant casserole. However, that casserole cut into individual servings and wrapped for the freezer will always be appreciated. Sometimes there are just no words. If the death is especially tragic or violent, that could be the case. A few years ago, a friend of ours was killed in a car accident on his way home from our house. And it seemed like people couldn't wait to ask me if he'd been drinking and caused the accident. Those words weren't comforting. And in fact, they made me feel like they were judging him and judging me in the process. We were in enough pain without listening to things like that. Do you remember that old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all? This is always good advice. When being there for someone who's grieving, know that your presence matters. Sometimes we let our fear hinder us from doing what we think we should or what we just know would be best. This is not the time to let fear get in your way. Go to your friend and offer to help or to just be there. And a reminder to keep supporting your friend long after the death. When the services are over, the friends have gone home, the flowers have wilted, people, they may need you for months or maybe even a lifetime. People tend to disappear after someone dies. I did realize this was probably because they were in so much pain themselves. And seeing me would remind them of that. I have forgiven these people. And at the same time, I've made a special effort to stay in touch with the loved ones that my loved ones left behind. I'm still in touch with Jacques' big family, and I also keep in touch with Ron's special set of guy friends that he used to talk to all the time. One thing I do is to keep in touch with someone for a full year after their loved one dies. This becomes somewhat of a habit and brings us closer so that it provides comfort for both of us. I said a lot here about what you can do for someone else, but you need to remember to take care of yourself too. I know with me, when dealing with a loss, I tend to get involved in taking care of the arrangements or the little details that come up at a time like this. And while that busyness helps me for a while, eventually I know I need to deal with my grief too. So I cry my tears. I write my memories of my loved ones. And I realize how grateful I am for all the friends that are here with me on this human journey. Thank you very much.
We'll all lose someone or know someone who's lost someone during our life. And really, what to say has been a problem, but we haven't been educated on what was proper, what was kind, what did people really need. So this talk was excellent. And she hit a personal note with me. And I know that I'm going to kind of correct what I say from going forward and maybe do a few longer, kinder things for people based on this talk.
I really enjoyed Emily Thoreau's talk on grief. We all stumble with what to say to somebody when they've had a loss or a crisis in their family. And she just brought some very good tips on a different way of approaching them with things to say positively about their loved one rather than to say, sorry for your loss. It's just a great reminder of how to do it, the right way to do it. And she also adds in there to take care of yourself. I mean, these are all things that we need to be reminded of and sensitive about. It was a great talk. Thank you, Emily.
Emily is a very genuine, heartwarming speaker. And her talk about grieving really is an opportunity for reflection and understanding that when someone loses someone, empathy is very important. It's not about us having something right to say or just say something so that you show that you care. That's not how we show that we care. It is about really being able to be present and offer comfort from the heart. And sometimes saying that we cannot understand how painful that loss might be or how deep the pain might be at that moment, sometimes might be the most comforting words that we can say.
So Emily's talk about grief really resonated with me because in July of 2008, my wife passed away on short notice from a stroke. And that was a traumatic experience. And I had to take care of my 3 kids at the time when their mother passed away. And so these were really comforting words and really helped me reminisce about those times and the good and the bad things that people were saying and how I got through it. So I wish I had been able to hear Emily's talk around the time my wife passed away. That would have been very helpful, but it's very helpful to hear it today. Thank you very much.